Well, that sucked. How about a roundhouse kick to the groin, followed by an RKO, and then a people's elbow to top it all off? That's what Friday night felt like for Texas Longhorn fans as the Horn season comes to an end at the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic in Arlington. The final score Ohio State 28, Texas 14. A thrilling game that ended in tragedy for Texas. A heartbreaking, excruciating, devastating, any negative ing word you can think of, finish to the 2024 Longhorn football season. The Horns fall a yard short of tying the game in the final minutes, potentially forcing overtime, potentially forcing who knows. Unfortunately, that's an alternate universe that we do not get to live in. What's up, guys? Welcome into another edition of the BK Show. I'm your host, BK Brad Kellner. Appreciate you guys tuning in. This is your one-stop shop for all things Texas Longhorns content on YouTube. Please give this video a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, as we are on our way to 1,000 subs, already close to 600 just a week into this channel's existence. So appreciate you guys tuning in to this point. And just because the football season is over doesn't mean this channel is over. We're going to be pumping out daily content, talking all things Texas sports right here on the BK Show. So I'm sure y'all know it by now. 28-14, Texas comes up 2 wins short of a national championship. The Horns fall in the college football playoff semifinal for the second straight year. And in prime Texas fashion, they can't make it easy on us. And they can't just lose the way that normal teams lose, right? Normally, you see a game that ends 28-14, and it's like, well, one team was clearly better than the other. And you kind of knew that for all 4 quarters, and you kind of had time to stomach the fact that, hey, they're just better than you today. They're going to win. You're going to lose. Sorry about that. But this game was anything but a 2-touchdown victory. Of course, Texas had a 1st and goal at the 1-yard line with less than 3 minutes left, with a chance to tie the game with a touchdown and an extra point. Hell, maybe a chance to take the lead with a touchdown and a 2-point conversion. Although that's not really Sark's MO. Texas right there on the doorstep with a chance to make things very, very interesting. And of course, they couldn't get it done. And there are a few plays from Friday night's game that will live in my head rent free until the end of time. But yeah, life as a Longhorn fan, we can't lose like other schools. We've got to find the most excruciatingly painful way to lose. You got to give your fans hope that it's going to be different. And Texas did that last year in the Sugar Bowl against Washington. They come all the way back in the final minutes, and they get the opportunity 11 yards away from the end zone for the go-ahead score that would have sent them to the national championship. And then, of course, this year, the Longhorns right there on the cusp of this time tying the game late in regulation with a chance to get to the national championship. And the Horns come up short. The 3 plays that will live in my head, in my heart, rent free until the day that I die. I think y'all already know where I'm going with this one. We'll start at the end of the first half. The 75-yard screen touchdown to Travion Henderson after everything the Longhorns did to score that first touchdown. I mean, it felt like a 29-minute drive. It was tough sledding for the Longhorns going up against the number 1 defense in America in that entire first half. And finally, the wheel route, Quinn Ewers to Jaden Blue. The Longhorns are able to break through, and they score the touchdown. They tie the game. The pro-Texas crowd in Arlington is going nuts. And you're thinking, all right, we are in it. We're right here. We're about to be tied going into halftime. And sure, Ohio State will get the ball first. But hey, we're right there. We're planting that seed of doubt that this is going to be a 60-minute football game. This isn't like Tennessee. This isn't like Oregon, where you guys are just going to dominate your way to an easy victory. We got y'all. Buckle up, strap in. And then literally the next offensive play, the 75-yard screen to Travion Henderson. Texas played a prevent defense. They did bring Jalen Gilbo from the second level. They only rushed 4. The problem is the other 7 guys that didn't rush Will Howard dropped way back into coverage, which basically gave the Ohio State offensive line like a head start, a head of steam, whatever you want to call it. They were able to go downhill and take advantage of those smaller linebackers and secondary players that Texas had way down the field. It was a bad play call by Pete Kwiatkowski. Obviously, Jalen Gilbo wasn't able to hit home before Will Howard lobbed that screen pass to Henderson. And to say he had a convoy of blockers in front of him would be the understatement of the century. Damn near looked like the flying V running down the turf at Jerry World in Arlington. Perfectly timed play call. And it sucks because I call Steve Sarkisian Screen Sarkisian all the time. It feels like he's the best screen coach in America. Feels like he calls more screens than any coach in America. And then boom, in that spot when Texas finds a way to tie the game and you thought they had some momentum going into the locker room, he gets burned by a screen. Great call by Chip Kelly, but really just a bad play call by Texas. I have no idea. Like, I don't think Ohio State's going to be that aggressive. It's not like that offense was putting up a bunch of points. They had 7 points. They had plenty of struggles themselves in the first half. They weren't going to be throwing the ball deep down the field against one of the best secondaries in the country. Didn't think Texas needed to be that secure and play that type of prevent defense in that spot. Of course, hindsight is 2020, but not a huge fan of playing that type of prevent defense when you don't have to anyways. And it burned Texas. So it's not like Texas brought the house. They only rushed 4, but they did bring one guy from the second level, and they left the middle of the field kind of open. And it was, Travion Henderson untouched. And I honestly thought the game was over at that point, guys, because of how bad Texas has been or had been in the third quarter, in the second half of the season, and into the SEC title game and into the college football playoff. I thought, oh, man, I was nervous if the game was tied at halftime. Texas now down by 7 after that play where the Buckeyes get all of the momentum back and they're about to get the ball to start the third quarter. I'm thinking that was nighty-night for the Longhorns. That obviously wasn't the case. Then we go all the way to the goal-to-go sequence on what really was the last meaningful offensive series of the game for Texas. I know the Longhorns got the ball back down 28-14, but the game was done at that point. I think we all knew that. So the last meaningful offensive drive for the Longhorns, we go to the final couple of minutes, and look, I didn't like really any of the play calls in that stretch. I mean, Texas gets back-to-back pass interference penalties. They get a 1st and goal from the 1-yard line, and the first play, you bring in a defensive player. You bring in Jarrett Gibson, who's your third string running back. And I get it. Jarrett Gibson's been very good in short yardage for Texas this season. He's been a guy they've relied on a lot in short yardage situations this season, but he hadn't played a snap in the game. That was his first touch. You're going to put him in that spot, and it wasn't his fault, by the way. The offensive line got pushed back, and he got stuffed. But you're going to bring him in there instead of Trey Wisner or, Jaden Blue, a guy who has your 2 touchdowns to that point in the game. You're going to bring in your third string true freshman running back and a defensive player in that spot. And that's going to work against the number 1 defense in America that's been incredibly stout in the red zone all season long. That play didn't work. But that's not the one that's going to live rent-free in my mind, although it sounds like it based on my reaction there. 2nd and goal from the 1-yard line. The shotgun pitch to Trey Wisner, who caught the ball at the 9-yard line. Remember, Texas snapped it from the 1. They snapped it all the way back to Quinn Ewers, who's standing at the 5 in the shotgun. And then they pitch it further back to Trey Wisner, who catches it at the 9. Ohio State's got 2, 3, 4 players there to collapse on Wisner, and he gets tackled at the 8. And all of a sudden, your whole playbook is pretty much open, right? When you're at the 1-yard line, you go from 2nd and goal from the 1 to 3rd and goal from the 8, and everyone knows you're going to be passing from that moment on. That play call was inexplicably bad. In real time, in hindsight, everything. I mean, that play is being crapped on, for lack of a better phrase, by everybody and their mother, and it should be. That's one of Steve Sarkisian's worst play calls as the head coach at Texas. That's one of his worst play calls, I'm sure, as a play caller anywhere. To call that in that spot with the speed that they have on that defense, you're asking, I know Texas has a great offensive line, but you're asking your offensive linemen to try to go east-west in space against Caleb Downs and Lathan Ransom and Cody Simon and Sonny Styles and all the speed that the Buckeyes have on that side of the football. You're asking your 300-plus pound guys to go, instead of north-south, you got to go east-west and try to beat those guys and knock them down in space. Horrible design, horrible decision, disaster for Texas. Disaster. I mean, people are comparing that to Pete Carroll and Darrell Bevell's funny enough, Pete Carroll, Steve Sarkisian's mentor, the decision by the Seahawks to throw the ball at the 1-yard line in the Super Bowl against the Patriots instead of handing it off to Marshawn Lynch when everybody expected it to be a run right up the gut to Marshawn Lynch. They decided to throw it. Russell Wilson throws the INT to Malcolm Butler. Boom, game over. Patriots win. People are comparing that second and goal play to that. And that is often regarded as the worst play call in the history of the sport. The stakes in this one, not quite as high as they were in that one, but I don't think it's too much of a reach to at least think about that Seahawks decision when you think about what Steve Sarkisian called in that spot. Third and goal, man, this one hurts too. Jack Sawyer, what a player. And it's not like he came out of nowhere. He's been one of the best players in college football forever. The guy was a top 10 recruit in America coming out of high school. He was supposed to be this good. He is this good. And his two-play sequence on third and fourth and goal will go down in Ohio State lore forever, and they should. Third down, Ohio State only rushes 3. They drop 8 in coverage, but Jack Sawyer kind of stunts inside, and he gets by Cole Hudson and gets right in the face of Quinn Ewers, so Quinn has no time to throw the football. Almost looked like he tipped it. Maybe he did tip it. I know Chris Fowler on the TV cast say he tipped it. Watched the play a couple of times, didn't quite see it, but regardless, a 3-man rush. Jack Sawyer beats his guy to the inside and is right in the face of Quinn Ewers like as soon as he finishes his drop back. So Quinn's got to get rid of the ball a lot quicker than he wanted to. The ball flutters incomplete, intended for Ryan Wingo. And then, again, I'm talking about like 5 or 6 plays. I know I told you all 3. I'm sorry. But the third play, it's going to live inside of me rent free. I didn't like the sounding of that. It's going to live in my mind rent free forever. Obviously, the fourth and goal from the 8, the strip sack fumble. Jack Sawyer again beats Cam Williams. I mean, right off the snap. It's almost like he knew the snap count. Got a great jump. Cam Williams had no chance. He obviously gets to Quinn Ewers before Quinn Ewers can throw it. I've watched a couple of different angles. I don't know where Quinn Ewers was going to go with that football. There was nobody open, but obviously he saw something that he liked enough. He didn't want to take the sack, but Jack Sawyer got there fast enough and made the play, the strip, the sack, the scoop, the score from 82 to 83 yards out. And there's your dagger. And it's crazy. That was an 83-yard return for a touchdown. That sequence of plays started with a first and goal from the 1, and Texas went so far back that, where Jack Sawyer picked up the football was at the 17-yard line. He only had to go 83 yards. I say only, tongue-in-cheek, obviously. But an incredible sequence by Jack Sawyer. You tip your cap to him. You tip your cap to the entire Ohio State team. That's a hell of a team. They're 9.5 to 10-point favorites in the national championship for a reason. It's a loaded roster, and in that moment, they made the plays that they needed to make, and Texas comes up just a yard short. So, guys, those 3 plays, the screen pass at the end of the first half, and then second and goal and fourth and goal at the end of the game. Obviously, you can say the entire 4-play sequence is going to stick with Sark and those coaches and those players and us fans forever. But second down, the just unbelievably bad decision by Steve Sarkisian. And I'm not one of those guys who thinks Sark needs help. Like, oh, you got to strip him of his play calling duties. I'll let somebody else take over the reins. No, I mean, Texas hired Sark to be their head coach because they loved what he was and what he is as an offensive coordinator and as an offensive play caller. That's why he got the job. And that's a big part of why Texas has turned things around as a program in this 4-year Steve Sarkisian era. But he's got to figure out the goal line offense. He's got to figure out the red zone offense because that's back-to-back seasons where Texas's season has come to a close because of a red zone failure. I'm looking at my phone right now, pulling up the stats for the Longhorns. Last year, Texas ranked 89th in the country in red zone offense. This year, they ranked 111th in the country in red zone offense. Perhaps fitting that both seasons ended with red zone failure. It was something every Texas fan knew the Longhorns needed to work on in the offseason. And early on in 2024, it was great. 9 conference games, early SEC play, it was great. But as the schedule got tougher and the games got bigger, Texas came up smaller in the red area. And once again, it is back-to-back years in the college football playoff semifinal where red zone failure does Texas in? That's something that has to be figured out in the offseason. Obviously, you'll have Arch Manning in there instead of Quinn Ewers. Maybe that will help. But Sark's got to find a way to make this team finish drives way more often in the red area because it did him in 2 years in a row. So that's going to do it for this video. Man, it hurts. It hurts. A twist of the knife, a kick to the groin, whatever you want to call it, a punch to the gut, you name it. Just a brutal way for the Longhorn season to come to an end. Still a very successful 2024 for Texas football. But unfortunately, again, they're so close you can taste it, but they end up 2 wins short of a national championship. All right, guys and gals, thank y'all so much for watching. Really do appreciate the continued love and support on this channel. Again, just because the football season is over doesn't mean the content stops. There is no off season on the BK show, and we'll be talking all things Texas sports, not just football, but all things Texas Longhorn sports right here on the BK show. Please like this video if you haven't already. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And remember, when you watch the BK show, you rule. See y'all tomorrow.